welcome again to everybody's favorite podcast, You Made That, where we talk about makers, making, and the things that we make most days, kind of. Unless we get on tangents.
That never happens.
Never. I am one of the hosts, Mike DeLauder. With me, as always, is the delightful RebeccaDeGroot and Bob Blanford.
And Bob Blanford.
Yeah, Bob Blanford.
That's the second time he's hurt my feelings on the opening. I'm just really upset.
Only the second? I'm shocked. I've been kind of hurt ever since I learned that my stalking was subpar.
You know something? That was not in the podcast, was it? Did that ever come out in the podcast? I
thought it did.
It wasn't in the one that just came out last week or this week. Was it in the previous one?
I believe so.
Oh, well, maybe I'm like way off, man. I never know what's going on anymore.
Irregardless, Mark Tobacco has called me out on my stalking skills, so just in case it wasn't. Well, let's get to what everybody wants to know about. Rebecca, what has your week been like?
Do we really want to know?
Of course we want to know. We have inquiring minds.
Well, I've been slightly MIA because Texas had an Arctic storm, which Texas is not prepared for that. I'm used to growing up in Michigan. We might get 2 feet of snow overnight and still go to school in the morning. Well, here we got up to about maybe 3 inches or so, and we had a catastrophic energy crisis. So what that translates to is they tried to do rolling blackouts and it didn't work. Instead, it shut absolutely everything off for about 32 hours. And then we had a pressure surge when everything came back on and blew up all sorts of pipes all over the place. So after our 32 hours of no electric and no heat, we had a pipe burst in our attic because pipes are in the attic over here. So instead of having a crawl space that gets a little water underneath the house, you have a flood from the ceiling. So that's fun. And so Henry and I are freaking out and I'm like, oh my God. And fortunately, I just found out like the day before where our main water valve was. So I like ran outside hoping I wasn't going to slip because I was in my slippers. And ran outside in my slippers.
We need to talk more about this. Okay, you're in your slippers, expecting not to slip.
Yeah,
where's the
it's a little
irony
ironic.
In that? Where's the irony in that? That's what I want to know.
Hoping that I wasn't going to slip and bust my head on my step, and ran out, shut off the valve, climb up into the attic. Yeah.
So your water shut off is on the outside of your house?
Yes.
So your neighbor could walk up at any time and just kill your water?
Yeah.
That doesn't make any sense.
Oh, I have seen tons of just janky kind of stuff on the news this past week out of Texas.
Oh, it's all
PVC
sorts of fun.
pipes coming off of the main outside.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Huh.
Just people stealing them?
No. That was their water hookup. PVC above ground.
Oh, that's fun.
Going into their house.
Wow.
Huh. I'm not surprised.
I mean, I just, like I said, I don't know that much about the building codes or lack of building codes, so I was just curious because the water shut off for us is inside the house. You have to be in the house to shut your water off unless you do it from the main at the street, which means taking the little water cover off, the metal cover, and then there's a special tool. They go down in there and shut your water off.
Yeah. So well, I think it is because it's city water though, that they're all just outside the house.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know. I'm glad I found it, though. We found it when we were prepping and wrapping the pipes, and we shut it off, and we're like, I wonder what this could be. And then we couldn't flush the toilet. I was like, is that what that was? Like, oh, look at that. Glad we found it. Because we literally had a flood coming from our ceiling. So we go up into the attic, and figure out exactly where it is. Like I'm looking at the ceiling. I was like, all right, if I go into the attic, what direction do I go, right? So I go up there, we find exactly where it is, but I can't see where it's coming from. Like there's no visible burst in the pipe. So I have Henry very slowly turn it back on, and it's just this jet that's shooting straight down from our hot water line that leads into our kitchen. But it was on just long enough that it flooded that general area and like sprayed everything with a mist. So we had to take out all the damp insulation and get that out of the way. Dried it as much as we could with paper towels. Because then shortly after that, the power went back out again. So there wasn't really much we could do for like electric drying of the upstairs area. So I was like, okay. Because then they did start the rolling blackouts. And I'm like, okay, so now we're out of power again. I'm just going to go bundle up again because now it's freezing again.
Back up. They tried rolling blackouts once and it failed.
Yeah, but then they did it.
Then they did it again.
Then they did it again. Oh, and they told us that if you were going to have power, they were going to take the energy bill if it's not a fixed rate. And yeah, you're going to be paying 10 times more than you normally would. So there's some guy with like a $16,000 bill for electric this week.
I saw that on this evening's news.
Yep. So we found out today, fortunately, we have a fixed rate. I was not sure because 4.5 years ago when I bought the house and I signed on to an electric plan and I just pay it every month. And it's like, okay, we used more this month than we did last month and it costs more, right? So Henry's been panicking. I've just been like, there's no chance that we're going to be able to change anything at this point because every time we try calling or getting online, either the website's not working or nobody's answering because it's like busy constantly. So, I mean, we have no chance. So we just have to wait and see what it's going to be, right? Crossing my fingers, hoping that my new anxiety meds are helping.
So when you sprayed your attic, did it literally soak through the drywall on the ceiling?
It came through the ceiling. It started flooding underneath.
Wow.
So we have one little hole with the strip, I don't know what it's called, the tape that you put between the boards. There's one little hole that it was like flooding out of, and then it was coming out of the seams, the corners of the wall a little bit where there's a crack from the settling. But it was just flooding out of there. But fortunately, part of the wall angles down and the other part flattens, and it was just going straight down into that little seam. So it didn't flood out in too many directions. It just kind of stayed right there. So there is a little bit of yellowing, but not too much. Okay. And so we calmed down a little bit and we're like, all right, where can we actually go? Like, what is open right now? Because everybody else is out of power too. So what the heck are we going to do? So we go outside, ready to go on a mission and try to find something to at least temporarily repair it. Because without power or power or heat or water, that would kind of be more miserable than just no power or heat. So we go out, all ready to go. I look to the left and there's a truck sitting in front of my neighbor's house with copper pipes in the back. And I'm like, does he have a plumber? Did he manage to find a plumber? So I go like up to my neighbor's yard. I'm like, hey, I think I scared him. And I'm like, how's it going over here? So we managed to like wrangle the plumber, and I was like, do you have any time at all to just come and look at what's going on over here between appointments? Because he was booked solid the rest of the day. I can imagine. Yeah, and so he came over and had a look while Henry was out going and getting like some supplies in case he couldn't do anything about it, because he's not just going to sit there waiting and then let the stores run out of what we need, right? So he comes up, takes a look. Henry gets back. He says that he can come back and cap it at like 9 or 10 o'clock. And it's like 9 or 10 o'clock at this point. And I'm like, all right. And the power is on and off all day, usually off though. And he comes back. He calls at like 11 or so. He's like, you guys still good? You can, I'm on my way back now. I've been working nonstop since I was over there this morning. And so we ended up getting it capped. We had to go get the caps because he didn't have any. So we went to this plumbing supply store that we didn't know was there, ended up buying like just a bag of their caps, ended up paying like $130 just for caps. But we bought a bag of like the 5/8 and another bag of the 7/8, so we'd have enough. That's the ones he told us to get. And they kept asking us when we were in the store, like, do you have the thing to put these on? And I'm like, these are the ones that he told us to get. And then another guy is like, you sure you can do this? You have the thing to put these on. Well, come to find out, the Pro Press crimper is like $2,500.
Yeah.
So with good reason they were asking us if they had it, because there was no other way to do it. So we ended up getting into that plumbing supply store literally minutes before they shut the door. So everything just lined up for us all day, the rest of the day, other than just having the stress of dealing with it and worrying and everything going on. And then the rest of the power outages and rolling blackouts and heat and no heat and all sorts of fun. I had a lot of time to sand.
Oh, I'll bet. But how could you see what you were sanding? It was dark.
Well, it wasn't dark all day.
Well, I'll say it totally paid off on that new piece that you posted, because
sure
that
did.
thing was nice and
Thank
smooth
you.
and shiny.
Thank you. Oh. And I was planning on finishing it by the 15th to submit to a show, and I ended up emailing the lady, and oh my God, I'm like, all right, is there any way? And I explained the situation. I was like, this is what's going on in my life right now. Can we get an extension? Because it was like the 15th when everything started happening, right? And she's like, okay, maybe a little bit, just keep me posted. And it took me like 4 extra days to get it done, just because like it wasn't warm enough in the house for the epoxy to cure or even mix, really, because it was almost solid out of the bottle. And that wasn't in freezing temperatures either. It was just too cold. And I'm like, do I just need to carry this thing around in my bra? so it's just
Honey, are
fun.
you happy? Are you happy to see me, or is that PV or epoxy in your bra?
Are those your epoxy models? And then to photograph it, and I was like, okay, do I go out in like the 11-degree temperatures to take my backdrop outside into the natural light, or do I wait until the power comes on and hope that everything's cured? And then I ended up making so many stupid mistakes with this thing. Like, I have to build a contraption that's it's behind me. I don't think you guys can see it right now, but it's like a little contraption. I think I'm moving my camera to the wrong space, where it's essentially a cage that I put the thing in so that I can glue everything up and it'll all line up and all the feet will end up touching the ground when I'm done, because any more than 3 feet and you're going to have that issue. So I have it with 2 boards, holes drilled not all the way through in the bottom of the board so that I could stick dowels in the corners, and then all the way through for the top board so that I can adjust the height of the top one. And then I figured out this super advanced mechanism of smoothie straws all cut to the same length so that then it sits on the dowels and lines everything up, but the smoothie straws keep it at the right height, and it's perfect. Oh my gosh. I'm like I'm a genius when I figured this out. So then I was measuring the feet and I was like, all right, that 1 foot is too long and it's not lining up quite right. And so I sand like 3/16 of an inch off of the toe, and this is after everything's already on and after it's already finished. And then I realized that the board hadn't dropped all the way, and I just sanded off almost a quarter of an inch of this thing. And I'm like, oh my God, what did I just do? So then I had to go around and do that to all 4 of the legs, and I'm like, this is so stupid. I'm just getting so upset at myself because I keep making these stupid mistakes because I'm cold and I'm frustrated and I'm hurrying, and I'm like, I just need to stop. Like, this is so dumb. So I stop and I'm sitting there and I'm home alone watching Bob's Burgers because the power's back on for at least a little while again, and I was like, this is so dumb. And I sit there and I'm watching Bob's Burgers and I'm like, I'm just going to take a little break. And so I took a break and I came back to it and I was like, all right, got to sand the rest of these 4 legs because of this stupid board.
Stupid. Dumb monkey.
So it's been real interesting, and it's like I keep trying it. Right toward the end of a piece is where I get really stressed out. I was like, okay, I'm gonna screw something up. I just know it, and I have to walk. If I'm like going out to finish it, I have to walk out, finish it real quick, bring it back into the warmth. And every time I do that, it's like super high pressure because if I accidentally brush against something, I'm just going to ruin it and I have to sand it all back and do it again. Or if I accidentally close the door, I had ended up breaking a leg off because I opened the door and didn't open it far enough and ended up snapping a leg on a different piece, not this one. But like just these really basic mistakes that if I'm just careful and not racing through everything, I wouldn't make those mistakes. But like it just seemed I was making all of them. But then it finally came together and the power was on long enough that I could photograph it. And I spent like half an hour out there taking all of the photos. And like after I was done, I was just like, okay, this is cool. And then I go and look at all of the photos and I have so many smudges on my backdrop.
Well, that's what you have Photoshop for. That's fixable.
My God. Right? So I got my laptop and I started editing and it took me like another 3 hours to edit all the photos and get everything lined back up and the light and everything and submitted. Everything's good. It's out. It's submitted to the show even though it was late. So it's just been it's been a whirlwind. Oh, and after wasting 23 ounces of Alumilite, I found out that Alumilite is CA phobic.
Yes, it is. I could have told you that.
I did not know that, and I didn't think to ask. I was just like, okay, if I put CA on it, then I won't have to stick it in the oven because no moisture will get through that. Well, moisture didn't get through, but the thing looks like it's wrapped in a bubble. It's so weird looking. Oh, and a really nice sized burl. That's.
I still say you should just dunk it in an acetone bath, leave it in there for a couple days, and it'll be fine.
But I need all the acetone for welding now.
Isn't that a slight fire risk?
No, you clean the metal with acetone.
Okay.
That's what the internet says.
Oh my gosh, Rebecca.
Well, that's our show for this week, everybody.
No.
I mean, Michael, how can we follow that? I mean, you know, we never lost power. We know we've had food. The water's work. I mean, our roads work. We can't follow that. We have not had that level of stress. I mean, I am sympathizing with you because, you know, I can't imagine what you went through, right? I mean, I cannot imagine all of that on top of trying to get your piece submitted to the show. So, you know, I feel horrible for you. I mean, I was checking in on you because I was worried about you, and you know, yeah, that was crazy.
Yeah. We survived. We're good. We're stronger for it now, and we learned.
Just remember, it's going to be worse next year because global warming is kicking in.
I have a feeling it's going to be an interesting year in the Texas legislature this year.
Oh my God! Can you imagine?
Yeah.
See, that's what made me wonder when you talk about in Texas all of the piping, everything being in the attic, right? Mm-hmm. Now all of a sudden this cold snap happens, right? So like here we have to plan for the 100-year flood. Everything has to be, you know, because every 100 years you get this massive flood, right? So now I'm sitting here thinking, if this is the worst it's ever been in Texas. Now, do they have to plan for like the 100-year snowfall? So all of a sudden, do they start legislating pipes have to be insulated or they have to be below the house? They can't be on a slab anymore. This could change all the building codes. I mean, it could really wreak havoc on, you know, I mean, honestly, it could. And the sad thing is too, and that's why I asked about your drywall, is just getting, not finding a contractor, but just being able to get the supplies to repair. You need insulation now. Good luck finding it because every Texan probably needs insulation, right?
Yeah,
I mean, you know,
for the pipes. We
so,
did manage to get a box of the 3/4 inch pipe insulation. So we have a whole box of it, and I started on the pipes yesterday. And I'm going to finish it later when it's just me up there.
Are your pipes copper?
Yeah.
Okay,
they
good.
are.
That's
and
good.
It
you
is.
Should look into heat
but
tape. You should look into heat tape. Although that wouldn't have saved you in this last problem because you lost power. So never mind.
Well, we the section that blew up because there were a couple different holes, one right above the kitchen and one right above the entryway. We had that section replaced with PEX, but the rest of it's still copper. So we'll see. Because Henry,
I'm sorry.
I was going to say that's probably what if they do end up regulating it, that's probably what they would go with is PEX.
See, and I can tell you, it can withstand a lot.
It can.
Yeah, and it's easier to repair.
Yep.
Well, see, we had pipes freeze upstairs in our bonus room. We added a bathroom. That way the kids don't have to come running downstairs. If they have friends over, there's just a bathroom. It's just a toilet and a sink. And because it was added after the fact, I didn't realize this. They just ran the PEX up the outside of the wall in the attic. And one year my son went up there, and of course he couldn't wash his hands. So I go out and to climb up in the attic. It's up in the top of my shop. The hole is in the ceiling. I walk across there and find out the PEX is just running down the wall, frozen solid. It's swelled up about a time and a half its normal size. I thought it was going to bust, but I didn't realize it is exceptionally flexible. So I took a hairdryer and an extension cord, and I heated it until the water started running, and then all of a sudden it just sort of shrunk back to its normal size. It's wild.
It's designed to do that.
Yeah, and I was so now I will tell you there is one problem with PEX. My wife, this has been the year we moved in, right? Maybe lived in the house 6 months. My neighbor, I hear bam, 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 and I walk outside. The guy behind me and one house over, his fence has fallen down, so he's got a 4-pound sledgehammer trying to beat the nails back in. But as he's hitting it, the posts are loose, so the posts are wobbling and other boards are falling off. And I'm like, "Oh, hold up, dude, hang on, let me help you." So I went and got a box of screws and a drill. I said, "Let's screw them in because you're never going to get this done." So I'm out there helping him screw them in, and my wife starts screaming, "Bob, get in here, get in here!" And I go running in the house. I didn't know what had happened, and under the kitchen sink, water is spewing up, and the floor is covered. So I go out into the garage and kill the water, the main. I come back in, and what had happened is there's a hot water line and a cold water line that come up under the sink. On the hot water line, there's a T that feeds the dishwasher, and the second T feeds the sink. Mm-hmm. And the shutoffs are above the T on the dishwasher side and the sink side, 2 shutoffs, but there's not one below the T. That's a problem. Okay, so
that's a problem.
The second problem is you got to watch your plumber. The guy that did ours, I found out, used ABS fittings. ABS and PEX are not compatible. And it split the fitting. It busted, and that was the issue. So I went through the house and I found every ABS fitting, and I took them out and I replaced them with the company is Gator, and I forget what the
shark bite fittings,
something similar, right? But they're T's, right? So I replaced them all with those because they're like super guaranteed and they work great with PEX. But you got to watch things like that too. So that was a mess. And I forget where I was going with that story, but it doesn't really matter. There was something I was going to circle back around to, and I just never got there. So,
well, you were saying there was a problem with PEX, and I think it was the ABS fittings that it won't work with.
If you've got PEX in your house and you've got ABS fittings, go to your favorite hardware store and buy replacements and replace them. Because they will not. And the thing is, the reason why I got the Gator fittings, the shark bites, was because if you know anything about PEX, it's got those little rings that you have to press on, and that tool is extremely expensive as well. So I just cut those suckers off and stuck them together. It worked. Those shark bites, they're almost indestructible. Those things are great.
Good to know. For next time.
Oh, God, let's pray there's not a next time.
Oh, I hope not.
See, I think Texas, isn't a lot of the grid down there, isn't it based on green energy?
Somewhere between 10 and 20% of their energy is green.
It's like
and the
windmills and stuff like that?
Windmills and solar, and the rest of it is fossil fuels.
Okay. And then the windmills couldn't run because they got too cold, right?
They froze up, yeah.
They froze up, okay.
Yeah.
That's what I thought. I don't watch the news, so I've been picking up bits and pieces from people, so I'm trying to put the whole story together.
Yeah, there's a lot of different narratives going on right now, so it'll be interesting to see what actually comes out from any investigation that goes on. because part of the problem is, yes, the windmills froze up, but also there's water in natural gas, and that froze the pipes up, so the natural gas couldn't flow.
Didn't have any pressure.
And, constricted it and actually burst some of the pipes for natural gas. So
let me ask a question, Michael. When you and I go up to Belpre, we pass an ungodly number of windmills between here and West Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
It gets miserably cold here. Why don't those windmills freeze up? What's the difference?
You're just trying to bring out the lib in me, aren't you?
No, I don't. Honestly, I don't understand what
There's ways to winterize windmills. There are windmills in Antarctica. There are windmills in Iowa. And they run all the time, but they're designed and maintained to run in those temperatures.
Okay, well that's what I
was wondering. Whereas in Texas, there's no regulations.
Yeah.
As far as I know, I could be completely wrong about that. But
that's what
as far as I've been able to ascertain, there's no regulations as far as electricity or windmills or anything like that. And that goes all the way back to 1935, when I think it was Eisenhower who started the National Electric Grid kind of regulation thing. I can't remember what the act was, but at that point, Texas decided that they didn't want to be a part of that.
They've got their own grid.
That's why you have a separate electric grid in Texas, and then you have the East Coast and West Coast grids.
Okay.
The East Coast and West Coast are part of the overall national electric grid, and I don't know. I guess Texas was to remember the Alamo. We're independent. I don't know.
Yeah, Texas is all about being its own thing.
Yeah. And Texas always has been a very proud, very independent state. Mm-hmm. And this time it just kind of bit him in the ass.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So I'm sure there's going to be a lot of blowback over what I just said.
Remember, everybody, that was Mike DeLauter.
Yeah, Mike DeLauter. I live down in Evansville.
Evansville, nice. I don't even live in Evansville.
No, you don't, but you're close enough.
Okay, let's move this on. What else is going on?
What have you guys been working on? Please tell me something else. Talk about something other than
Go ahead, Michael.
My weird week.
Well, I finally finished the 30 pen order. I'm working on space pens now. Nice. I had an idea that got shot down, though. Originally, when I had talked to the guy, there was a patch that was just designed by the crew that took the seeds up into space. So it was the patch that was on their uniforms. It's an official NASA patch. We were going to use that as a graphic. Well, NASA maintains the rights to those, so they won't. Well, they'll release it, but it's going to be very spendy. So that's not going to happen now.
Yeah.
But what I was thinking was making water slide decals of that patch and putting it on the upper tube of the Majestic Junior kits that we're using. Because he's also wanting to see if there's a way that I can put on like limited edition number 1 of however many we make. And that would have been real easy to fit onto that water slide decal and have it follow the curve of that patch.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So now I got to rethink that whole thing.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that makes sense. You got to watch out for those copyrighted things.
Yeah, we do.
Speaking of copyright,
did you get a C&D? Did you get a C&D letter? Cease and desist.
No, I didn't. But my wife and I went to have our will updated. Right, lots of things have changed in our lives, and we got the first pass, and we were reading back through it, and then we had an appointment with our lawyer on Friday to go over, any changes we wanted to make. And I asked my lawyer, I said, how do you handle intellectual property? He's like, well, I have no idea. He said, why are you asking? I said, well, I have 2 YouTube channels, and I said, they don't make a lot of money, but they bring in a few dollars each week. It's my intellectual property. I own it. And when I die, I would like to basically pass that to my kids, and whatever revenue that brings in, how little it may be or whatever, belongs to them, right? Goes to the trust. He's like, well, I've never had that request before. and this guy, I mean, it's not like he's a new lawyer. I mean, this guy he's probably 70 years old. He's been doing law. He's part-time now, but he did our wills 20 years ago. So he's, we went back to him. He just works a few days a week. So I'm trying to figure that out. He goes, could you research that and let me know? Like, oh man, God, I got to do research.
My thought on that would be is that you might have to set up trust beforehand before you're, and just have it start paying into that trust instead of paying to you.
And that's exactly what happens. I have to have it paying into the trust now, which means I don't get any, I don't get any benefit from the money, right? I can't use it for reinvesting in the shop. So that's an issue.
You could wait for a few years.
Well,
but then you're assuming you wouldn't get hit by a car tomorrow.
Exactly. I mean, and that's what I was worried about. So I haven't figured that out yet, but I think what I'm going to do is, we'll figure something out to where they can maintain it. I just got to figure it out. So that's a mess. But anyway, Michael, you were working on your 30-pin order and your space pins. So what else have you got?
Let's see. I've got a few orders for some bespoke pen blanks that I need to get taken care of. And I have a few fountain pen gifts that I want to make. So
ooh, nice.
I'll start working on those soon.
I like blues.
Oh, yeah, I bet you do. Well, brother, do I have the pen for you?
Mr. Haney. Love.
What have you been up to, Bob, aside from reviewing your will?
Well, I didn't get a lot of time in the shop during the week because I have been extremely busy with work, to the point of starting at 6:37 in the morning and working until 10:30, 11 at night. Hopefully things are going to quiet down this coming week. But I did have a good weekend in the shop, and I worked on a couple of things. I worked on my Penn State video, and I've got the first of 2 videos finished. The second one's about halfway done. I just need, I take that back. The first of 2 pins is finished. I just need to edit the video, and I'll start on that first chance I get. And then I've been doing putting quite a bit of effort into my SWAT demo, going back the second pass. And the idea is, I'm making my props now. I'm taking my photos now, things that I noted. And then I also, I'm making sure that my technical document is good. And I found a bunch of steps that I really don't need. So I'm removing steps, right? I mean, there's no sense putting junk in there you don't need. So I'm cleaning that technical document. I've been working on that. And so I haven't really been posting on WhatchaDoinBob because those projects, I don't want to put that out in the public, right? So I can't say I'm not sharing them. I am sharing them and taking feedback from my patrons, on those things, and they're seeing update videos, etc. Because it's nice to have someone to bounce it off of, but I don't really want to put that out in the public. Penn State, I really can't, but the other one, the SWAT demo, I just need a very small audience to work with on that to help me dial it in. So I've been working on that quite a bit. And that is really about all I've been working on until today. I got to a point where I need to order some stuff. I can't go any farther on either of those videos. Well, one of them was the epoxy was drying, and the other one I need to buy some things. So I took a little break today and started working on a Bespoke Kitless pen. I don't know what to call it, right? Either way, you call it one thing, and that's the tricky thing is you call it Kitless, people get pissed off. You call it Bespoke, people get pissed off. I'm not sure what to call them now, so I'm working on a pen made from a rod of material. I don't know what else to call it, and I've gone ahead and I've got the body. All except for shaping, it's done. The cap, all except for shaping, and the section. And on the section, it was just about ready to begin shaping, and I noticed I have about 3/16 of an inch too much material. So I want to take that material off very carefully and include that in the tenon and go ahead and thread it in a little farther, right? So I've got to work on that. That's where I'll start from. And then once I get that done, I'll go ahead and make a couple of mandrels out of probably Delrin that seems to work really nice. And I've got a huge rod of Delrin, maybe 4 or 5 feet. And I'm doing a Kitless pin just for me. I said I wasn't going to record it, but I have been taking some video in case something really good happens. Then I can edit it up and put it out there. But otherwise, I'm not trying to do a video on this one. I'm trying to just enjoy myself and practice and learn, because I want to get back into making that style pin and making a bunch of those. Yes, please.
What's Delrin?
Okay, you've heard of HDPE and you've heard of UHMW. Delrin is another plastic that it's harder than those two, and it is extremely machinable. It is self-lubricating. For example, I took my lawnmower, the wheel broke off of it. So I made a new hub out of Delrin, and it's actually probably better than the wheel that was on there, the bearings and everything that was on there. It is a wonderful plastic to work with. A little pricey, but
yes, it is.
But I'm telling you what, it's very machinable, and you can do so much with it. It's wonderful.
Nice.
So,
okay, thank you. Sorry for interrupting.
No problem,
I wasn't sure.
Matter of fact, I believe Don Peters, doesn't he work at a factory that produces Delrin? Is it
I'm
Don?
not sure.
Maybe I've got him mixed up with somebody. But one of our good friends works at a factory that makes Delrin. So it's up. I think it's up in the West Virginia area.
I used to work for a factory that used Delrin for injection molding. And we actually had a part that we had to machine afterwards, after injection molding, because it had a gasket seal that had 4 parting lines on it. So we had to machine those parting lines off so that it would seal properly.
Yeah. And other than that, that's pretty much my shop. I had a great weekend in the shop, put a lot of hours in out there working on those things, so I'm really dialing them in. The only other thing I really had to do is when we bought the first car for our kids, we added a concrete pad beside our driveway. And my gutter used to come down and used to dump where that concrete pad is. But since we put a pad there, we didn't want the gutter sticking out. They turned it to the side. Well, when they turned it, it wouldn't have mattered which way they turned it. The water comes down and runs down the driveway. So in the summertime, it's not a big deal. But in the wintertime, you get a little snow. That snow starts to melt as soon as the sun comes out. And water runs down the drain and goes onto the driveway. And then at nighttime, it freezes. And you get this incredibly smooth, incredibly slick layer of ice. And my driveway is extremely steep.
Yes,
so it is. I fell 5 times shoveling my driveway.
Oh, no.
5 times. And trying to be careful. And it hurt, and the drive is so steep, you just go right on down into the street when you fall, right? Or under a car. So what I did today is finally, the pipe was no longer frozen. I was able to kick it and all the crap came out of it, the slush and everything.
Yeah.
And I removed it and turned the pipe the other way and put a 10-foot extension and ran it across the driveway. It doesn't look all that great up next to the house, but now I'm running that out into the yard. And I'm so thankful because you couldn't pull into my driveway. And the way my driveway is at a 90 degree with my 2 garages, it gets no sun. So there's no, and you got to try to go up this driveway. And I mean, it is probably close to 45 degrees to get up my driveway. It's very steep.
Oh my gosh.
It's very steep. So yeah, so I've been busy with a couple of things like that, but nothing too crazy.
Well, alrighty then.
Yeah.
Did we have a topic today? I mean, we have talked for 2 hours.
We've talked for so long now. God, it's been close to 40 minutes we've been talking. I forgot what the topic was.
I think we were going to talk about the wrong tool for the job.
Wrong tool for the job. Let's see. We've already talked about one. ABS with pegs. That doesn't work.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
That's true.
And I was telling you guys this earlier, but every time I think of the wrong tool for the job, Bill Lutz comes to mind with his chisels. And then I think that's something I would do.
I mean, is there really a wrong tool if it gets the job done?
Right?
Is it really the wrong tool?
Okay, well,
channel locks. Not a good hammer.
But it is a good handle.
Yeah.
Eh? It's not a handle, but it could be. Just like your phone could be a weapon if you throw it hard enough. Do you want to throw your phone? Probably not. I might. It's that thing. It's old. It doesn't work. It works. It works, but it doesn't work.
See,
but I'm keeping it because it works.
When I think about the wrong tool for the job, I always think back. I'm using a skew now to turn my pins. I always think back to using that rough and gouge. I mean, but is it really the wrong tool? Because I turned hundreds and hundreds of pins and did a pretty fair job. So was I wrong?
I don't think so. I mean, as long as you're using it safely, like you were using it for spindle turning, so it still can be considered the right tool for the job. It might not be the best, but if you were to say try to hollow out a bowl with that tool, then it would be the wrong tool for the job. But I think it all just depends on the use of the tool, whether it's right or wrong, or best or not best. It
Definitely
could be the best,
wrong
honestly.
tool to round a bowling blank or bowl blank.
Yeah. Yes. I've seen a couple pictures lately. Have you seen that one that's been out circulating lately? It's the one that just snapped right off.
What did I do wrong?
I don't think I've seen that one. So you're telling me it's a photo of someone using a roughing gouge or a spindle gouge to turn a bowl?
It's the photo of the aftermath.
Yeah.
After it broke off at the ferrule.
Oof. Yuck.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I had something break off last weekend. I told you guys about that, or maybe I didn't. I don't remember if I did or not. I was turning a box, and I'd already got it hollowed and everything, and I was turning the rabbet and caught, of course, it was thin at this point, and I caught a part of a knot, and when I did, it just blew apart. Ooh. Luckily, I was at the end of the lathe, as opposed to being beside the lathe, so it threw it across the shop instead of throwing it at me, so I wasn't hurt. But I wasn't using the wrong tool either. I was not using the wrong tool for the job, so I just happened to catch a knot in a piece of really dry cedar.
Well, talking about turning too, I have a lot of criticism at times because, or I guess it's a conversation between carbide and traditional tools, because there are some people that only use traditional tools, and those people think that carbide is wrong. Just whatever you're doing is just not right.
It's just a really expensive scraper. That's all it is.
Yeah. I mean, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it works.
But like we said, it gets the job done. And if you're going to start out turning and you're not as confident with traditional tools and the angle and the tool approach and the presentation and everything like that, of course you're going to start with carbide if you don't have somebody showing you exactly what to do and how to do it safely. Otherwise, you might end up bringing a roughing gouge to a bowl blank. I mean, you don't know any better, or some people don't. And I would much prefer to teach certain people if I know that they are not going to go and take other classes and they're not going to listen to people's advice. I would rather those people use carbide to start and get hooked and then move into the traditional tools. But the classes I've been teaching in Chicago, the only things we use are traditional tools, and we start out and we only use roughing gouge and a spindle gouge on the first day, and those are the only two tools we use. We don't touch carbide until the last day, and that's when we're going in and hollowing out the boxes. So, I mean, yes, there is a right and a wrong for each of those jobs, but as long as you're using the wrong tool properly, it can work.
I agree. I don't really, I have carbide. I don't really use it. I do recommend it to new turners simply because of the issue with sharpening, and it is extremely expensive to get a sharpening system, and then you have to learn how to properly sharpen, because if you sharpen incorrectly, that could be a problem. So carbide is a really great starting point. And then as you get deeper into the hobby, hopefully you'll take a class or work with someone who is a little more skilled and can use high-speed steel tools and can show you properly how to use them. which Michael came to my house one day and I did not do that, but but
we didn't spend a lot of time on the skew that day, did we?
No, I wasn't as serious about it as I am now. But anyway, because I truly believe that if you put the two side by side, they both get the job done. But I truly believe that high-speed steel is a better choice if you want to have a higher quality finished product because of the cut you can get with the grain versus scraping, which many times will tear the grain. That's my experience. But is it the wrong tool? No. Is it a bad tool? No. It's a preference tool, and it's a great starting tool to get you into the hobby reasonable. And even though it is expensive, it's no more expensive. I mean, if you take a look at what a good quality tool costs, they're not cheap. So.
Yeah. On the other hand, too, after I had my first mistake with the Alumilite, I ended up pouring 3 more backups. So I went through about 80 ounces of Alumilite. But the last 3 were good. And I turned the first one and I was using, I started out with the, my roughing gouge. Because when I start with just a regular hybrid blank, I can use the roughing gouge easily, but then going in and refining it, my negative rake carbides from Easywood, those things are a dream to turn Alumilite, and it's just fine ribbons all day. Although then I did have another allergic reaction to the Alumilite, so it's always fun. It's always fun. My arm is really itchy. But I keep forgetting.
You need to start working with Arushi since you have so much trouble with Alumilite and
she's probably sitting there and what's that?
Arushi, it's like it's a finish for pens that you put many
it's Japanese lacquer.
It's Japanese lacquer. That's what I was looking for, lacquer. Mm-hmm. And it's made from sumac, poison sumac or something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah. So
well, that sounds awful.
Yeah. It if you have a bad reaction to it, I guess even a pen that's finished, you can have a reaction to the pen, but it's absolutely gorgeous. And
oh my gosh,
it's amazing if you do a little looking into what is involved in doing a finish with that stuff. Oh my God. Talk about dedication.
Every layer has to be cured. It has to be cured in a dark, wet environment. So it has to be inside a box that's controlled to 70% humidity. But he's right. The finish on it is just amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. But if you are highly allergic to poison ivy, poison oak, and you pick that pen up, you can have a reaction. So.
Yeah, I do not. I do
think that
not
would be
do well
hard
with
to do
poison
though
ivy.
after it's cured.
Well, it's not common, but there are people who have a reaction because they are so severely sensitive to the oils, the oak and the whatever. Mm. And since it is a lacquer, think about it. Lacquer, what happens with lacquer? You can get it. You can use an alcohol or whatever, and I'm sure it's got to be somewhat similar. And it will basically smooth itself, right? I mean, what's the word I'm looking for with lacquer? You can thin it. You can put
self-healing. Yeah,
sort of self-healing. So maybe you use a little bit of Purell on your hands, and you pick your favorite pen up, and whammo, you got. I don't know if it's that easy, but there are people that are severely allergic. So.
I can imagine.
So I luckily I haven't had the allergic reactions. The only wood that bothers me is cedar. And the only reason cedar bothers me is because it's such a fine dust. Mm-hmm. And that's the only one so far. So I love it, but I try to steer clear of it.
Yeah. Yeah, and black ash burl, I had the worst reaction of all. And that was even worse than my reaction to Cocobolo when I had my first one, and I was like, what the heck is going on? But it got all up in my eyebrows, in my eyelid area, around my hairline, like around my mouth. It was all over my face, but it didn't start there. That's just where it ended up. But it starts on my wrists, moves up my arm, across my chest, down my other arm, like in my torso area, and it just kept spreading. I couldn't make it stop. It was terrible. And I was just like, all right, so I'm going to get rid of all the black ash burl that's in the house, and we're never touching that again.
I don't blame you.
And it's scary too, because the classes in Chicago, they've got their maple blanks, and then there's a box of black ash blanks. And I'm like, Dan, you got to get those out of here.
You're pretty much doing that once a month now, aren't you? Pretty much.
I've got, for the last couple months, yeah. So I did one in January. I've got another one coming up, at the end of this week. And then another one at the end of March we just scheduled, and it's already starting to fill up.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, it's
fun.
fun.
How long, you fly each time you go, right? Mm-hmm. And how long is that trip?
Somewhere between 2.5 to 3.5 hours, depending on if I'm coming or going.
That's not bad.
Yeah, and Henry's coming with me on the March trip.
Wow. So do they pay for you to go?
They pay for my travel. We're gonna have to pay for Henry, but he needs to get out of
to get a vacation.
Since you've been kind of in and out of the news cycle with your power, have you seen anything about the flight out of Colorado this past week?
No. Do I want to know what happened?
One of the engines had an issue and kind of caught on fire, and the cowling and the sides of it all blew off and fell to the ground. It was basically right after takeoff. So they had to turn the plane around and land. So they're not sure yet. They haven't done the full investigation, so they don't know if there was birds that got sucked into the intake of the engine or if a drone hit it or something, but something definitely happened to the turbine blades.
Well, that's terrifying.
Don't let that freak you out. Flying is still the safest way to go.
Yeah.
How's that drive sounding now, huh? Instead of flying.
I'm driving to Waco.
People are crazy. People are crazy. And speaking of Waco, I told Bob, did I tell you, Mike? I'm also going to be a demonstrator at SWAT this year.
Ooh.
Yeah, and I have no idea what I'm demonstrating.
So
Michael,
who needs a really big assistant?
Well, Michael, I'm going to drive, so if you want to go, meet me at my house and you can ride down with me, get you a hotel. We'll do a broadcast from down there.
I'm parked out in your driveway right now, so.
No, I'm serious. If you think you want to go, then you just need to let me know, because I am going to drive. I'm going to rent a car and drive because I want to take my tools with me, and I just don't want to ship them. So it's I guess it's going to be about 13 hours. It's going to be
sounds about right.
It's going to be a long drive.
Yeah.
But I'm going to go down on Thursday, and then I'll get up on Friday. I'll be there Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then I'm going to drive back on Monday. So it's a 5-day trip. And
I might have to consider that. I've got a few vacation days left to burn this year.
Yeah.
Do it. It's so much fun. And everything is just right there, too. They don't, like, with your membership or the registration, you get lunches included. Everything is right within a small area. So between the classes, you could just run right up to the vendor area and hang out with everybody, skip a couple classes if you want to, maybe heckle some people you like. And then it's awesome because, like, AAW, you go to AAW and they are in this huge convention center that takes like 10-15 minutes to walk to some of the classes if you're slow getting around. And then it's like everything is so separate, and then there's maybe 30 minutes between each of the rotations, so you don't have any time to go back to the vendor area and actually do anything or buy anything before the next one's already starting. So it's harder to get around.
That's why I want to drive, because buy things.
Yes.
I don't have to worry about getting them on a plane.
Yes.
I have a bad habit of buying things. I don't even need them. I just buy them. I'm buying the wrong tools.
I got a whole shop of that
for the job. So. But you just need to let me know, Michael, if you want to go.
I'll be thinking about that.
Yeah, definitely, because I am going to drive.
Do it.
I've already got my hotel booked.
Really?
Well, I didn't want to wait because I didn't know what to expect. I mean, I don't know how big the town is. I don't know how many hotel rooms will be taken up. Mm-hmm. So I just went ahead and booked my my hotel room.
Nice. Are you staying right there?
It's supposed to be within walking distance, right across. It's a Hilton, so I don't know.
You're probably in the convention center.
I might be.
Yeah, there's the Hilton and the Courtyard Marriott.
Okay.
Those are like the two main
hotels. I went to the
hotels.
Hilton because I had a boatload of points, and it really took my rate down. I didn't have enough for a free night, but it really helped with the rate, so I was happy about that. I'm not complaining. So,
I had a question for you, Rebecca. You know, how the discussion of the wrong tool for the job turned into the preferred tool for the job. Your hybrid blank that you were turning, how do you do a finish on the Illumilite for that?
Well, I was actually going to ask you guys about that because I don't know how I'm going to do that yet because I have to do so much sanding on the burl and shaping because the top half is like all carved and I'm now carving into the Illumilite, so I'm going to have to do a ton of work back on that. But right now, all I did was took it to my buffing wheels and I just buffed the heck out of it. So nothing
So you're
is
using like
actually
red and white
finished.
rouge on it?
Yeah.
Like
it's
Tripoli
the-
and... Okay.
Yeah, the Tripoli, White Diamond, and Carnauba.
see,
Okay.
I've actually used CA on Illumilite with great success. However, my blanks were definitely cured. Okay, they had been setting for a while, so they weren't within the 7-day window or whatever it is for Illumilite. And normally, what I will do on a hybrid is I'll sand it down to 600, and then I'll micro mesh it dry. Okay, then you've got to seal your wood or finish your wood. So I'll go ahead and put my CA on it, which will seal the wood, and then I'll go back with the wet Illumilite and I'll sand to buff the CA and to take the CA off of, for the most part, the acrylic or the Illumilite half, right? I had good luck with it. Real good luck.
Okay, you're going to have to explain that to me again later when I'm
Yeah,
in
I'm
that
sorry.
stage.
I know it's confusing, but I just go ahead. I mean, I can't just get it on the wood, so it's going to get all over the Illumilite too, right? So I just go ahead and do the whole blank, and then I polish it down.
Okay.
CA will still bond to Illumilite once it's cured.
Right. It's just
But
it doesn't
if
like...
you have CA inside Illumilite trying to cure the Illumilite, that's bad. Bad stuff.
Weird bubble coating.
Mm-hmm.
Just one solid, weird, root-shaped bubble.
But see, the thing I'm thinking is, you're telling me it's a solid, weird, root-shaped bubble, and I'm thinking that is a DeGroot. You need to put some legs on that thing and just go with it, right? I mean, come on.
No, it's weird. Like, it ruined the blank. Like, the whole thing. Because my concept was I was going to have some sprouts growing out of this, essentially like an island. And I was like, okay, but how do I make the sprouts interact with the water? Okay, they could be like, there could be a root dipping down for each one, sort of drinking up the water. Because the whole idea is elements. And I'm going with water and earth as my two elements that I'm going for, and I actually need to finish this thing really quickly because I have to have it sent out and received by March. So soon. Maybe they'll give me extension too.
I do have a question for you. The new piece that we've seen all over Instagram the last few days, is that for sale?
Well, it's going into the show that I sold Strain in.
Uh-huh.
And
She already got an offer from me.
Well, I just, I was just wondering. I mean, I'm hoping if you decided on a price for it that you doubled it.
Well,
Yeah, I could double my price.
oh yeah, you could double your price of $3.35.
No, actually, mine was $6.59.
Wait, no, $6.30 something. What?
$6.59.
Oh, that's right. Okay, yeah, 6. Oh God, people and their ideas of numbers. Yeah, I think I'm. So here's the thing. I thought before I put it out into the world that I was confident with the price. And then everybody starts commenting on it and they're like, oh, this is the best piece we've ever seen. And I'm like, Did I not charge enough? Do I need to email the lady and tell her to change it? Or am I going to be sitting on this thing for 3 more years? Like, who knows?
Is she the one who upped the price last time in the gallery for you with strain?
Yeah, but she does. So we give her our price that we want to receive for the piece. And then she takes it and adds on her consignment. And
Got it.
so it's like, it's a 45-55 split, but she did add a section for shipping costs this time. So I'm hoping that comes out of her part, but I don't know if it's going to. I think it should, maybe. Or maybe the buyer will add that onto their thing too. Because like these things take forever to box up. They take like, it's usually about a 2-day process for me to box these things up and actually get the packing in a way that nothing is going to break and it's going to ship properly. And it's a trip to the post office right now because I'm not going to trust myself to weigh it and do all that extra stuff. But it's like a 2-day thing.
Wow.
And with all the materials and the memory foam and the wood and anyways.
I got you.
It's a whole thing in itself. It's like a whole other piece that I'm basically making around this thing. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm second guessing my price already after I'm seeing all the comments. And now I'm just like, I need to just stop looking at the comments. Oh, and I did get cover photo on Wow. Yeah.
I have a question for you. When you made the legs, did you use saber-tooth burrs for those?
Oh, you know what? I did. I used saber-tooth burrs all over the entire piece,
saber-tooth?
actually.
Would you like to tell us a little bit about saber-tooth?
Oh, yeah, sure. You know, I prefer the green saber-tooth burrs that you can find at sabertooth.com and the yellow saber-tooth burrs that you can also find at sabertooth.com. And I did get my order of saber-tooth burrs, and I got their eye cutters, and they're like the concave of a dome shape. Mm-hmm. And it's so convex. You like just press it into the wood, and it'll create this like a dome. So it's really cool. And if you want to buy your own saber-tooth burrs at sabertooth.com, you can enter YMT at checkout to save yourself 10% off of your entire online order. And you can do weird, cool, strange things like me. And I've actually been making quite a bit of a mess in my lathe room because I don't want to go carve in my garage like I usually do. So I've just been keeping my saber-tooth tree in here right now. Because I've had this sketch on my wall. I know I'm going off on another tangent.
That's all right.
I've had this sketch on my wall for a little over 4 years. It was December of 2016. Thank you, Michael. So I've had this sketch, and it's another really weird thing. And I sat, and it was like a few months after I bought the house, and I was settling in, and it was cold and I was cozy and I was watching my way for the first time through the office, and I'm just sitting there at my table and I'm drawing away, and it was when I was like thinking that I was actually going to start making more YouTube videos again, and then I got out of that right away, and I had this sketch, and now I've got 4 of them framed up in our hallway. And the one that seems the most feasible, I was getting really into carving over the last couple days, and I'm like, I could probably make that thing. And so I started, and it's actually like going really, really well. Do I have any wood to knock on now? So
don't knock too hard. That beam could come down. Remember, it's been wet in the attic.
Oh, I know. So like this whole thing, I'm just getting really into it, and I turned the first piece and I was like, this looks just like the sketch. And then I turned the second piece. I was like, this looks just like the sketch. I must be getting better at this. And then I start making like the things that come out of the second piece, and I'm like, how the hell am I going to do this? And it's like a weird inverted pipe sort of a shape that holds like a little egg that comes out of another egg, and it's really hard to explain without making it just sound like another weird piece. And I'm like, this is really coming along. And I did all of it just last night. And I've got almost all of the pieces made and carved, and I'm ready to start sanding. And I'm like, what the heck? Can I actually make a piece in a day? Like, this is stupid. Why don't I do this all the time? But I think it is just because, like, I have the right tools for the job. Mm-hmm. Like, wow. It all comes back. So,
full circle.
Yeah, and
circle of life. It's kind of like the Lion King.
Exactly. And without that, like, I remember when I first started making these pieces, you guys can actually see this one in the background. It's the Reach one. It's right there. And it's one of my earlier pieces, which I find out that I made, not earlier, but earlier since I moved down to Texas. I made it about 5 years ago. Now I know that because Time Hop on Facebook is showing me my progress shots that I was posting at the time. And I'm like, hey, I know that piece. And I didn't have saber-tooth tools then. And I didn't have a flex shaft power carver then. And I had a dowel and some 80 grit sandpaper. And it was the only tool for the job for me at that time. But now I've been able to add to my collection literally over the past 5 years. And I feel like I'm actually in a place now where things just go more smoothly. Like, you may think that you don't have any of the tools that you need, but if you modify something, you can make almost any of the tools that you would need to do the jobs that you're trying to do. It's just going to be a lot harder than if you save up a little bit and you wait a little while and you're patient and you get the right tools. So I don't know.
Question for you. I know you do turning demos. Have you thought about doing a carving demo where you basically take a project and from start to finish carve it with your saber-tooth tools? Or
I've thought about it, and honestly, I've done a demo that's kind of from conception to a physical piece, and it ends up being really repetitive.
Ah, gotcha.
For me, anyways, because it's like, okay, and now we're going to carve this thing, and even though we did this same exact process for the legs, now we're going to do the same thing for the stamen, or for this, or for that. But I think if I made it a piece that has a lot of different components that aren't repeated too many times, or if I already have like 2 of the legs pre-carved and done and ready to go, then it could be really interesting. But then I would have to be like, well, let me just design this piece on the spot. Oh wait, I already have half of it done. It just ends up a little bit too practiced, I guess, or too planned out, that it doesn't feel like it's on the spot. Like, if I am going to do something like that, I would want to do something like, okay, somebody tell me, what am I going to do? Am I going to do a this, or am I going to do a that? And then make the design based on like audience suggestions, and then be able to show them from start to finish, even if it's not really my idea, but it has my spin on it, how I would do all of those different things.
That could be dangerous.
I know. I know.
All right, I'm looking for suggestions except for the bachelorette party over here. You're not allowed to say anything anymore.
I know where you're going with that.
I have another question for you, Rebecca.
Yeah.
You wouldn't happen to have any nutty facts from the shop squirrel this evening, would you?
Oh, as a matter of fact, I have 2. And these ones are not on any type of theme, but the nutty facts that our shop squirrel found today were... The first one, Houdini. Houdini actually trained his pet dog, didn't tell me his name, but trained his pet dog to escape from a miniature set of handcuffs.
Wouldn't those be leg cuffs or paw cuffs?
Toe bean cuffs. And then Ethiopia means the land of sunburnt faces in Greek.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
All right.
I thought those were both pretty cool, and those are in the show notes.
Those are cool. You know what I could use, Michael, is a little humor. Could you humor me?
Oh, God, no. I didn't line anything up. Wait a minute. I have one, but I have it on a sheet. I have to bring it up. Somebody go before me.
Rebecca? Okay, I got you. All right, so we're gonna catch up from not recording last week, and I've got so many from Tim Wadley. I think I got 4.
Yeah, Rebecca, what were you thinking not showing up to record last week?
Yeah, I know.
Hey, I just want to say that last week, the show, hopefully it'll come out, it was the absolute best podcast that we have ever done on You Made That. And you guys need to send Mike notes letting him know that you want that thing released ASAP, because it was awesome.
Release the show. Release the show.
That's right. Release that show, Michael.
Okay. Someone threw a bottle of omega-3 pills at my head. It's okay, though, as my injuries were only superfish oil.
Oh, boo. Oh, my gosh.
Hold on. Am I allowed to cuss? I don't remember.
As long as it's not the big one.
It's the S.
Go for it.
What did Newton think when he discovered gravity? Shit's about to go down.
Oh, God. That is so terrible.
Hold on, I've got more. And these are all from Tim Wadley, who I'm going to actually mention in a little bit, too.
Oh.
The recipe said set the oven to 180 degrees. Now I can't open it because the door is facing the wall.
Oh, these are terrible.
What do you call a dog in a submarine? A subwoofer.
A subwoofer. Oh, God.
And Henry said, I don't understand the science behind cloning. I said, that makes two of us.
Oh.
I've got one from Rosetta Hahn, but I'll wait.
All right. Michael, you want to go or you want me to go? I got a couple.
Sure, I'm ready now.
Okay.
My high school girlfriend dumped me when she found out I only had 9 toes. It turns out she's lax toes intolerant.
Evidently, Rebecca likes that joke.
And let's see, my best friend and I skipped school to go bungee jumping. We were both suspended.
Mm-hmm. All right. My turn. My friend got fired from his job as a road worker today. I refused to believe he could do such a thing, but when I went to his house, all of the signs were there. I should have said as a road worker. Oh, I just realized I didn't give the whole joke. For theft. I should have said today for theft. See, I had to type that in. And see, so,
turns out she's lactose intolerant.
Yes. Boo. Okay, I'm going to redo my joke. My friend got fired from his job today as a road worker for theft. I refused to believe he could do such a thing, but when I went to his house, all of the signs were there. See how much better the joke is when you have when you type. I was reading it off the page, and I forgot to type the last 2 words. Oh. Okay, I've got another joke for you. This one came into me from Mark Toon. What do you get when you cross an insomniac with an agnostic with a dyslexic?
Ooh, I know this one.
Someone who stays up all night wondering if there really is a dog.
That's one of my favorite jokes ever.
I've got one from Rosetta Hahn, too. Rosetta has been sending some longer ones, so this is a little bit longer, but here we go. Bob ran out of gas, and a bee flew in the window of his car. Are you out of gas? Asked the bee. Yes, replied Bob. Give me a minute, said the bee, and he flew away. Minutes later, the bee returned with an entire hive of bees who all flew into his gas tank. Moments later, they emerged. Now try it, said a passing bee. Bob tried, and the car started. Bob said, Wow, what did you put in the tank? Now wait for it. BP. No, BP gasoline. It's supposed to be a gasoline joke. Come on. BP. If you don't like it, blame Rosetta.
Well, she sent me an animal joke this week.
Oh my God,
too.
we got too many jokes.
What do you call a pile of cats? A meowton.
A meowton.
Meow.
Oh, good Lord.
Lactose intolerant.
Yeah. Just eventually that one will go over. Just keep going with it. Just keep working it. That's all I got. Remember, everybody, write into Mike DeLalter and let him know that you want him to release the special edition podcast that was recorded last week. It is the best podcast we have ever done.
Sure.
Yeah.
Hey, I got to tell you, everything was there. The Sabretooth commercial was there. We talked about, it was the best podcast ever.
Might have to be a special release this week. Special edition.
Special edition, yeah.
Well, Rebecca, why don't you tell us where we can find you on the interwebs?
I will, and hopefully soon, as my hosting runs out in a couple weeks, this will be narrowed down to you'll find me at RebeccaDeGroot.com. But until then, you can find me on Facebook and YouTube as Rebecca DeGroot. Another YouTube channel that I've only posted about 3 videos and haven't done anything in several months. Rebecca's up to something. My Instagram, which is where I post most of my stuff and respond to probably quickest. Rebecca_DeGroot. My website, once again, RebeccaDeGroot.com. Etsy and Redbubble is RebeccaDeGrootStudio, but Etsy doesn't have spaces, while Redbubble does.
You sure you didn't reverse that?
No.
You can find me at Lost River Pens on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and LostRiverPens.com.
Do you really want to find me? That's the question I got to ask.
If anybody really wants to know, I can get you his street address.
Street address. Michael's got it. No, you can find me on YouTube and Instagram at RJBWoodturner. And you can find my vlog channel on YouTube at WhatchaDoinBob. And you can find me at Patreon/RJBWoodturner if you're interested in supporting my content.
All right. Well, that's it for this week, everybody. Rebecca, we hope you stay warm and dry this coming week.
You.
And you'll be back in school tomorrow, correct?
No, we actually have the next 2 days off. People are still without power.
Oh, okay. Well,
yeah. Next 2 days off. Wednesday is remote learning from home. Thursday and Friday are remote learning, but teachers have to go to school. But I'll already be in Chicago Friday morning, so.
Well, you enjoy your week that's pretty much down.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Lactose intolerant. Everybody have a great week. Be safe, be healthy, and we will talk to you next week. Bye.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.
Sayonara.
Lactose intolerant.